It's the beginning of June. Garden is in full growth mode. We've even had our first harvest. So that obviously means it's time to start thinking about the fall garden. Because you want your garden to be constantly in production, that means is when you've got one crop coming out, you want to be able to put another crop in. So I'm starting to think about succession planting. While I did harvest a cabbage the other day, I gotta wait for a little bit more room. One cabbage plant isn't gonna be enough to really start planting stuff in. Because not only do you have to think about something going into the space, but you have to think about what kind of plants you wanna put in there. So with cabbage, it being a heavy nitrogen feeder, you don't want a crop that's gonna go in there that's also gonna need a lot of nitrogen. Even though I'm gonna throw some compost on top of it, you want a vegetable that's gonna be a light feeder or something that'll help the soil replenish. So after you harvest a crop like cabbage, you wanna follow with something that's not gonna be a heavy feeder. You wanna put in root crops like carrots or beets, leeks, onions, garlic. That would be, I guess, after a fall harvest, something like that. Or you could put in legumes like peas and beans. So I'm gonna wait till my cabbage is almost completely harvested before I start planning for that space. However, my garlic is gonna be coming out soon. That also was a heavy feeder. I'm gonna be planting in that space beans. And probably by the end of July, beginning of August, I'll be harvesting my corn. So again, a heavy feeder. So I'll want to put in a different kind of crop into that. I'll be planting another crop of peas in there. And then you rotate to another type of vegetable after them if you have time. I don't do any kind of winter sowing. Hello, future me here editing the video. And I tried to find the chart that I had seen. It was a neat little graphic showing the crop rotation to use for planting, for the different plants to follow each crop. And I actually couldn't find that one. And then I started looking more, and this isn't really settled science. Or a lot of people have a lot of different ideas as to what can go in. Generally, you go from roots to fruits to greens to legumes, but there was no real settled order of rotation. So while I was generally correct in what to plant, it's not quite uniform as to what's recommended. So like I said, you can kind of use that, the roots to fruits to greens to legumes, but depending on where you look, you'll end up finding different ideas. And from seed companies, from gardeners, from extension services, they all seem to have different ideas as to what you can plant. I'm going to show a graphic on the screen. It's not the first one I found, but it should give you the idea. By the end of the summer, beginning of fall, I'm ready for the gardening season to be over. I still know I'll have a few things to be harvesting. I'm ready to put my garden to bed. So by the end of October, beginning of November, when the first fall frost comes, I'll be wanting to put my garden to bed for the winter. I will plant next year's garlic at the beginning of November like I did last year. But beyond that, I won't be doing any kind of extended gardening. But right now, because the garlic is going to be coming out probably within 2 weeks or so, I want to have some plants ready to go into that space because the garlic will be harvested all at once. And for that, as I said, I'm going to be planting beans. This might just look like an old t-shirt, but actually, I've pre-sprouted my beans. I think I started them on Sunday. Today is Wednesday, June 4th, and I just used this plastic bin. I soaked the beans overnight, and then I laid them out on paper towels, and I let them stay here under cover in the dark. And as you can see, they've started producing roots. So I'm going to want to start planting these seeds so they can begin the process of growing. And in about 2 weeks or so, I'll have small plants that I can then put into the garden. These are red kidney beans. They're just a store-bought bag of Goya red beans. And as I said, I soaked them, laid them out, and just kept the towel damp. I really didn't have to do anything because being in the container with a locked lid, it kept the moisture inside. There's no mold growing or anything like that. And you do have to be careful about that. I wasn't sure exactly how many beans would start sprouting, but it looks like we've got pretty good germination. I'm going to want about 250 beans for that entire 15-foot row, 12-foot. Why can't I remember what that row length is? But I'm going to need about 250 beans. There's 300 beans in here, just in case. But it looks like we should be able to meet my quota. And for this, rather than having 250 containers, I'm going to use a seed snail. That'll allow me, I'll need a bunch of seed snails for all these beans, but it'll allow me to have all of them in a very small footprint. I think that's the real benefit of the seed snails, is just how many seeds you can start in a small space and get them to transplanting size. And it doesn't take up all your growing space. So as I said, I kind of like the seed snail for that. And I plan on using it going forward. So as you might recall from last time, we laid out the snail, what will be the snail, in a tray. And now we're going to fill it up with soil. This has been moistened, and it's moistened typically a little bit more than normal. And you leave yourself a little flap, roll it right from the end. You need a little bit to roll over into the middle of the snail. I'm making this one a little bit thicker than normal, only because of the seeds, so they have a little bit more soil to grow into. And while it's okay for the top end to be open and the soil to fall out, you want the back, which will be the bottom here, kind of uniform. Some soil will fall out when you start to roll it up. So it's actually a couple of days after, and as you can see, the seeds are really taking off now. So I'm just going to start grabbing some seeds, and as you can see, they got some big roots on them now. And I'm going to plant them kind of close to one another. Beans typically don't like to be transplanted, so you want to be extra careful with them. So let's see how many we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And I'm going to take a little more soil and just throw it on top of the roots. I think in the next seed snail, I'm going to plant them even a little bit lower than what I'm doing here. I'm going to put a little, once I roll this up, I'm going to put them, put a little soil on top of the seeds. But I didn't have to put them so close to the top there. So now we're going to take this and we're going to roll it over. And we'll slide the rest in. Also leaving a flap here so that we can tape it to the other side. And I'm going to throw some more soil in. This one wasn't very big yet, but as I said, I'm going to plant them down a little bit lower. I might be a little early doing these. I could probably have started them a week before, because the garlic isn't going to come out for like 2 weeks. They're probably going to put on some size real quick. I'll continue rolling it up. And then we're going to tape it. I'm going to try duct tape, see if that works better, because the packing tape really wasn't the best. There we go. And as you can see, we still got some beans showing on top here. It wasn't the best idea putting them so close to the top. Duct tape definitely seems to work best. And we got one done. So I'll do one more. And we'll see how it does with the beans. Like I said, beans typically don't like to be transplanted. So I could have even waited till the garlic was harvested, maybe a day or two before, and started the soak the seeds, let them start to form their little tap roots, and then just planted them directly in the garden. These aren't growing into the paper towel that I have, which is definitely a good thing. So now I'll take the end and start rolling it up. And now we'll continue rolling it up. I'm just going to wipe down this bag just to make sure that the tape sticks to it. We'll stand it up. There we go. And because the seeds are down a little bit further, they're not right under the surface of the soil. So we've got about 50 seeds done, 250 more to go. And hopefully they'll grow nicely in those seed snails and be ready for when I want to harvest the garlic. I can get them right into the ground right away. But if you want to see what we're doing in the garden last week, check out this video right here, and then subscribe and hit that notification bell. And that way you'll be able to follow along in the progress on all of our vegetables as we try to grow a supermarket in our own backyard. Okay, thanks for watching.